Welcome to What Kind of Asian Are You? A podcast featuring conversations about being Asian. We are going to highlight, amplify, and validate Asian voices through deep conversations with those in the diaspora making a difference and being their best selves. I'm your host, Kyle. In today's episode, we talk to three Asian Canadians who will be performing a series of shows in the Greater Toronto area revolving around the Asian experience during Asian Heritage Month. We talked about who they are, what they do, what is the showcase about, and what we can expect from them in the shows, their healing process, and being Asian. If you are in the Greater Toronto area, definitely check them out at their shows. It'll be a fun one for sure. So the show is called InnerGenerational, Trauma and Healing. It's a series of live shows based on the ancestral impact of Asian experiences. Performances from Anto, Siddartha, and Shqdel. All three that I interviewed on today's episode. Again, thank you for listening and hope you continue to support us by listening, sharing, and following us on social media. If you got some change to spare, buy us a coffee as well. And now to the episode. All right, welcome everybody, and I'm your host Kyle, and we have another episode of What Kind of Asian Are You podcast. And today I'm very happy to talk to these fellow individuals tonight because they're putting on a showcase that revolves around poetry, music, live performances that I'm really looking forward to attending myself. That's happening in my area, in the Toronto area. So if you're in the area, you should definitely check that out as well. And yeah, it's gonna be a fun conversation with them, learn more about who they are, what they're about, and also what they're doing with this showcase because it has a lot of meaning and I'm looking to learn more about it. So without further ado, I want to introduce them. So there's three of them here tonight with us. So we have Anto, Siddartha, and Shqdel. How are you guys doing today?
Great. Doing awesome. Was it?
But yeah, welcome you guys to the show. Very excited to have y'all. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, you guys are here to talk about yourself, your stories, but more importantly, the showcase that you guys will be putting on in May that I'm very excited about. So before we talk more in depth about the showcase and all that fun stuff, can we just go through and introduce the audience to all of y'all one by one of who you are, what you're about, and most importantly, what kind of Asian are you?
Absolutely, yeah. So my name is Anto, and I've been a performance artist for the last 15 years. Actually, May is going to be my 15-year anniversary from when I first did my comedy set, which is just time has flown by. And for the last 10 years or so, I've been producing shows and events. So that has just been incredible doing comedy, poetry, storytelling, emceeing, just any type of performance that people can open up their hearts and share more about themselves. I always found the healing nature of the stage was really powerful to me. And I guess the other question was, what kind of Asian am I? I'm audacious, I'm annoying, I'm hilarious, I'm silly, but my family is Hong Kong Chinese, so I speak Cantonese as well. And yeah, I actually ended up visiting there a couple years ago, and yeah, it's I always tell people you got to hit up the motherland. You always got to go back. So I guess that's a good way to introduce myself, and looking forward to hearing from everybody else.
Hello, my name is Siddartha. My passions would be rapping, music, producing, and dance, very music centric. I love writing and expressing my ideas. And the type of Asian that I am is South Asian. We're from India. I'm from India. That's where my parents are from, and I was born in Canada. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
And last but not least,
Hi, so I'm the one called Shqdel, and I bring visual, poetic, and lyrical uh, offerings. Um, yeah, I pretty much just love dipping my toes into anything related to self expression. And yeah, what kind of Asian am I? I am a second generation Filipina.
that's great. And thank you for the introductions. Really appreciate it. And in a nutshell, you guys are people that I really love talking to. You guys are creative. You guys do what you love. You guys represent, your culture, yourself to the fullest, and I love that. And you guys are Asian Canadians, my kind of people, and I'm really excited to have this talk with you. And in terms of like what I mentioned, like you guys are putting down a really exciting showcase coming up in May, perfect for the Asian American Pacific Islander kind of heritage month that we have in May in Canada and also in the United States. So before we talk about the showcase, can we just talk about how y'all three connected initially, and how has kind of your kind of relationship, friendship, kind of collaboration has been with this project happening at the same time?
Hmm. Yeah, I could jump in for that because I ended up actually meeting both Shqdel and Siddartha at a place called T-Base. And T-Base is actually going to be the first co-produced event that we're going to be doing at Chinatown Center. So it's kind of like a big coming around for us. I ended up meeting them at one of the events that they were putting on, and I actually didn't even remember that that's where I met Siddartha, which is such an amazing. And Shqdel, I ended up performing with 3 or 4 times, which was at T-Base. So just being able to see both of them shine and just be such incredible artists really inspired me to contact them when we were putting together this showcase. And I wanted to choose artists that I knew, even if someone was like, hey, tomorrow you have to perform, I trusted both of them to be able to bring something so special to the stage. But now, as we've been working on this, we've built so much more, and it's really helped our relationships to connect with each other and learn so much more about each other and each other's like backgrounds and families. And it's really been a very strong community vibes. We've been spending every Sunday together at a place called Lotus, a studio, so we've been able to come together and actually build the show together and show each other all the work that we've been doing as a collective, which I love so much.
Perfect. And we kept mentioning like, oh, this showcase. So can we now get to like, oh, what is this showcase called? What we can expect? What it's all about? All that fun stuff. I know a little bit about it, of course, because Anton and I have been kind of communicating throughout the times of us knowing guys about what this is about and what he's trying to do. And now like it's live. People can get tickets for it. Can you just tell the audience what they can expect, what it is, and all that fun stuff?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that just before I actually jump into that, I just wanted to also say that being a part of this project has not just been, oh, let's just jam together as much as we can and just make sure it's as Asian as possible. Like, that's not what this is. This is actually like us digging deep into our own personal mental health and the work that we've been doing with ourselves as well as second generation Asian Canadians, right? So the show is actually called InnerGenerational. And I wanted to make sure that the way that name actually came about was so random. I was writing intergenerational into Google because I was just curious, is there any works that have been done about that recently? And I ended up making a spelling mistake and put intergenerational. And it asked me, did you mean intergenerational? I was like, I did, but this is way better. And the idea of actually looking in within ourselves and reflecting on how our ancestral roots affected us, that's what this show really is about. So I actually have pulled up the definition of it. I know that might not be but for me, I just feel like we spent so much time writing the content of it. I wanted to make sure that I got the essence of it through the words, and we'll be able to actually dig a little bit deeper in that way. But I'm just going to read this really quickly. So what is this show about? Intergenerational trauma and healing is the discovery and showcasing of the second generation immigrants' experience in finding our place in Canada. Many of us suffer in silence through mental health issues, shame, guilt, pressures to assimilate, and confusion in who we are, always feeling stuck in the middle. With exploration of our lineage and complicated family history, we're able to find where we belong. And as an artist, that's one of the biggest things, is that I never really felt like I belonged to a specific space because I performed in many different areas, whether it was comedy, poetry, and storytelling. They all have their own cliques. So to be able to actually build this program and build InnerGenerational together, that has helped me open up so much and learn the power of community and why it's so valuable to be able to dig a bit deeper into our own histories so that we can move forward with strength so that our children and the people that come after us don't feel like they're as lonely and as overwhelmed with all of our experiences in our past. So yeah, that's my general explanation of this project.
Perfect. So it's going to be a series of showcases in different locations where there's live performances of music, poetry, of all sorts. And you made it very clear what it means to you in terms of this project. You're the founder, the producer, and such. And I want to ask the other two, like Anto said it so well in terms of what it means to him, but for you two, in terms of being part of this project, what does it mean to you personally? Sorry to interrupt the podcast, but if this is a podcast that is bigger, this would be the time where we would be selling an ad for either a pillow, a subscription box, or online therapy, but we're not there yet. However, if businesses want us to do an ad for them, we are more than happy to do so. Just reach out to us. In the meantime, this is our time to say that you, the listeners, mean a lot to us. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can do that by listening, commenting, liking, and subscribing to the podcast on all social media platforms, as well as giving us a rating and review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We are at What Kind of Asian Pod on Instagram, and just search What Kind of Asian Are You podcast for everything else. And if you have $1 or $2 to spare, buy me a coffee. Links in show notes. Now back to the episode.
Me, I have just been reminding myself that I am kind of enough, because I used to look to a lot of Filipino groups that I wanted to partake in, but I felt like I didn't know that much about my history. And I even said that to Siddartha yesterday during a meeting, and he reminded me that it's like, yeah, we are enough wherever we are on our journeys. And as someone who performs often, I realize how much I care about this project because, like Anto said, I could perform at any moment, but I really wanted to make sure that I not only share my experience, but shed light to the universal aspect of one's subjective experience, especially at the intersection of being a Filipina, while also being aware of my light skin privilege and all the other things that I have the benefit of experiencing through the way that I exist. And so, yeah, I'm really just taking all the things that I've observed while growing up and putting them into the show. Yeah, sorry. I feel like I just can't do words today, but thanks for listening.
Yeah, when Anto approached me with this project, I was honestly, after sitting with it for a few days after he first proposed it, I was through the moon just because I feel like this project to me is the first opportunity where I really get to explore my identity through my art, truly, like facing it head on to a degree. You know, as an Indian male born in Canada, the way I view my culture from an external lens, um, and approaching those subjects because honestly, it's a complicated relationship, right? Living in Canada, you see your culture from, like I said before, an external lens, and it can be so easy to, make assumptions. It can be so easy to just pass off judgments. It can be so easy to, just take a certain stance. But being in the unique position of born in one culture and raised with another at the same time, in the house is little India, outside of the house is Canada. It's like having a lens on both cultures and having that outside perspective. I think there's a unique opportunity to bridge the gap for, like what Anto said, for people in our positions who may be confused, who may see the positive aspects of their home culture as well in comparison to Canada. So really, for me, it's the significance of it is huge in scale and very important, and I do hold it dear to my heart. And so I'm grateful to Anto, and I'm grateful to the whole project for being able to have me be able to even explore these ideas. Making sure I'm not judging my culture, but making sure that we can be accountable for what we do culturally. Finding that sweet spot.
That's great. I love what you guys all said about what it means to you and what you hope to bring with your performances for the showcases. And I really appreciate the fact with this project, it really digs deep into like our experience being uh, immigrants or just kids of immigrants in a Western country in terms of the deeper issue, rather than just looking at more Asian being on more shows or representation of that sort, because I think that's really important. And the thing that I'm really curious about is like, what is the biggest thing that you hope that the audience to these showcases that you're putting on during this great month of May for Asian American Pacific Islander kind of Heritage Month? What do you want them to get out of it? Let's start with you first, Anto.
I want people to see our uniqueness, how each one of us are completely different than the other, but we not only respect each other, we love each other, and we care about what happens to each other, and we can actually openly share space in this way. We can support each other and be present in each other's growth, in each other's lives. And I think that's incredibly valuable, because the idea of seeing everyone as a monolith in each individual race, I feel, is so it's this quick speed that we need to get to know somebody. So they're like, oh, your background's Chinese, okay, I totally know you. Oh yeah. But like somebody meets me and then they're like, but I thought you said you're Chinese, why is your hair so long, why do you have a beard? Oh, what kind of job do you do? Oh, you do art. What do you mean performance art? What is that? Like, so I'm hoping that they're meeting multiple of us who are not in these boxes that have been created previously, but instead we're able to open up their curiosity and hopefully make them, whoever comes to the shows, as well as everybody who's working on the project, to not discount or put aside their passions, the things that move them, the things that excite them, and the parts of themselves that they've been hiding, so that they can just be a part of everybody else's visions of what they think that their lives should be, and actually take charge and take ownership of their lives. That's what I want from this. I want someone to come to the shows, be inspired, and create art themselves. Feel like what we're doing is not so outside of the box, that this is actually common for people to actually connect to their true selves and be authentic themselves. That's what this whole project is about, is authenticity, and also honoring the people and those who have set the path, so that I can be authentic myself, and for the other artists on the project to be authentic themselves. That couldn't have happened without our ancestral roots and the people that we love and that we care about. At the same time, this is a gift to thank them, as well as honoring the fact that we also have to take charge of our own lives and can't just fit into the boxes that they've given to us, because that doesn't work either.
For me, I think the biggest thing that, on top of all the things that Anto was talking about, as well as just kind of in the same vein, empowering people, literally anyone, but specifically this month and with this performance, people of Asian heritage, empowering them to understand that we are also going to be bringing down a legacy, putting out a legacy, that we help shape the cultural sphere as well, that we are not just a product of our history, we are not just a product of what was given to us, but we are expected to take what was given to us and, add to it. And so I guess that goes into the kind of authenticity and learning to be yourself and express, because I do feel like, at least I can speak for my culture specifically, but I'm sure a lot of other people who identify as Asian can say this as well, that there is repression, there is expectations, there is an idea of having to fit within a certain mold in order to survive and make it through the struggle and make sure that you're stable and find a level of safety. And that doesn't always gel so well with everybody, especially if you're creative, where you want to explore and find new ideas. And so yeah, definitely it's empowering people to understand that you are going to be someone's ancestor. And I think Shqdel and or Anto said this earlier, and I thought that was super powerful. So whichever one of you, I know it wasn't me, but I think it might have been Shqdel. But yeah, anyone who to understand that they will be an ancestor one day. And so what do you want to pass down? That we're not just, we're not just supposed to fit a mold. We create the mold as well.
Yeah, and to add to what was said, I wanted to bring up the aspect of how people can contribute to collective healing through just tending to those within their proximity, like through family. And I myself have been experiencing so much healing in and of itself with my own parents just by speaking about this project. And it has inspired my parents to really look within and to feel safe to have the really difficult conversations that could bring clarity for their own lives, because as Anto was mentioning, sometimes our parents' lives could be the product of trying to check the boxes that were given to them, and which they followed with good intention and through survival mode and wanting the best for their offspring, but sometimes forgetting the softness and tenderness needed in between the necessities. So yeah, just I hope that people leave feeling a little more empowered to have difficult conversations with family or people who they see as family.
That's great, and I love how three of you both, all at least in terms of overall theme, would be like empowerment, healing of those sort in terms of your own past with family or just your identity, culture, and all that. So I was wondering, for your own journeys, I want to know like what have helped you in terms of empowerment, healing, and so sort. Is it solely through performing, creating, and those?
Therapy is a huge one. Absolutely. And I think it's one of those things that there's a stigma towards it, especially in the Chinese community. And to be able to be an advocate for therapy has been something that I've committed myself to in a lot of my content and the things that I share in my work. One thing that in September, I started doing expressive art therapy in school. And that means you have to actually get your own expressive art therapist. And my expressive art therapist, she is one of those people that you can ask her anything or connect to her, and she would just know the answer of it. And I was just blown away by how that was. And I was like, how do you always know what to say or what to do in these moments? And she had the most humble answer that you could imagine. She said, it's because it's not just me here with you, it's me and all of my resources. And I asked her what she meant by resources, and she means the books that she reads, the her mentors that she has, the school that she went to, the other friends that she has, her family. These are all resources. These are all things that we can tap into. And not, of course, not everybody will have every one of these resources, but it's important to be able to build those bridges so that when you are in times of crisis, you can connect to the people that you need to. everybody is wanting to support us a lot of times, but they don't really know how to because we're not establishing those bridges to build towards the resources that we need. So that was just such a huge thing for me when I realized this. It completely changed my life. And that was actually when I first came up with this project, the idea of having a project that can be a resource, just like many of these other things that I had set up. That's why I wanted to build the project in the first place. So, yeah, resources and therapy, as well as close friends and family, those are all different things that I connect with.
Yes, definitely art, especially music, because um, you don't really, like, aside from the importance of resources, with self expression, all you need to do is release energy in some type of way. And that really helped me being an introvert for a long time in my life. I'm still an introvert even though I perform, but um, just singing to myself to hear how I feel because of all the external things that would block me from hearing that was really important. And just even visual art, doodling on a napkin is really simple, but it is a form of release. And I've found that um, the theme of family healing for me is really important. And the times when we shared the most joy was through a shared experience of art and music. And the times that I felt closer to my parents' inner children and closest to their like essence was through our shared love of music and expression and um, just appreciating it together. So I hope that people can feel that at our show.
Definitely, I think the biggest thing for me was the truth. You know, being honest and candid, I think is, easier said than done in certain circumstances, especially with family members, while still being respectful. In terms of my journey, my parents didn't know that I danced until I was 19, and I'd been taking classes for like 6 years. They didn't know I made music until I was 20, so literally, like, I felt like I wouldn't be accepted. Or, for example, a big reason I didn't go back to India for 11 years. I went back just this November, but I didn't go back for 11 years is because I was afraid of judgment from my distant family, I'm a rapper. I have a nose ring. I dress differently. I speak differently. And I've found that um, above everything, the most liberating, truly liberating thing is, to tell the truth, to be honest. And if you're fortunate enough to give your family, again, the benefit of the doubt that it's best intentions first. I mean, there are some people, unfortunately, who may not be in those situations, but if you do have the luxury, then I think it goes a long way. So that's what's really helped my journey. Anto and Shqdel both know that when I've had inner conflicts about like writing a piece or thinking about my culture or feeling judgmental, I'm very open about it. So yeah, the truth. I think I feel like the truth is the antidote to repression. The antidote. Ha, hilarious. Sorry. Okay.
That's awesome, and I really appreciate y'all's answers, and I hope people attending the showcases will get all that feelings and more, and start their healing process if they haven't, or get to a higher level after the show. And I've been following the showcase Instagram, and been seeing the pieces you've been putting out to promote and advertise the show. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was what Anto, kind of the clip of him talking about, Asian representation, and how, it's great to see all that right now, especially with the whole movement. It's not stopping anytime soon, but you feel like it's something's missing. And I think you guys putting on a showcase like this is really uh, adding on, supplementing to what is out there in terms of Asian representation of like deeper meaning. So can you just further elaborate on what you really meant when you have that clip out, Anto?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not saying that I'm not enjoying that representation as well, but it seems like we're always putting the best looking things forward and putting on these masks of what, like, hey, we'll talk generally near it, but we're not going to actually deal with it head on, you know? And it just really, I really connect to what Siddartha said, the idea of the truth, right? What is the truth of what they're actually wanting to share? And why is there so much dancing around the what it is that we actually want to be sharing? And so this showcase, what I really want is to be able to show people that we can still connect to these really deep emotional parts of ourselves, and we can also have healing and fun and enjoyment and entertainment all intertwined into the many layers of what the performance is, but also each individual person, there's all of those layers as well too. I find that there's a whenever there's something in Hollywood, it seems there really is that main surface area. Okay, this is going to be a superhero movie, so let's just make it a superhero movie that it also happens to be Asian. You know, and it's like, all right, so but what about the depth of the humanity of those parts? Right, the surface level just feels as if it comes so close, but there's just a disconnect. So it was less a criticism of the way in which they're doing it and more of a amplification of what I would like to see moving forward. So it just reminds me of what it is that we're talking about in the project in itself. We appreciate what has come before us, but we want to be able to take the best parts of that and move forward into what we believe will be able to be supportive and healing into the next generation. So the idea of that paired with their therapy and supports us to be able to share our truest selves, most authentic selves on stage in this way, hopefully that excites people and motivates them to share their truth and their emotions and their deepest parts of themselves to the people around them. That's what the goal is.
Perfect. And for the other two, what have you been feeling about, Asian representation as a whole in terms of like what you see out there, and also do you feel like the representation you want for your own self and your culture is kind of getting there, or is still a long way to go, in your opinion?
Are we talking about in North American society? Okay. Um,
Yes.
I think in terms of representation in Western media, people with my skin complexion and or facial features are definitely pigeonholed. Um, definitely, uh, I think there's more to be desired, almost in all industries, right? Across Western media, in terms of like how many Indian dudes you see that aren't Raj the taxi driver. I loved him in Deadpool. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like not many, and things are changing. You have Hassan Minaj, you have like Akash Singh, like in the comedy space. You have, but I think there's a lot to be desired, even when it comes to actually Indian representation. I mean, you look at Bollywood. Um, and I don't know how familiar anyone is with Bollywood, but for anyone who is familiar with Bollywood, I implore you, I urge you, look at how many films there are with a dark skinned leading actor and or actress. Think about it, you know. Uh, Not to mention the narratives that are played in the industry. They're heavily apoliticized or politicized a certain way. So I think that there is so much room for different stories by different faces, with different backgrounds to be told, even from my region at least, from India, um, both in the West, both in the East. I think globally, as the world is slowly moving towards globalization, I think there is a lot of room, a lot of room for representation to move forward, as it has been.
Shqdel, what about you?
Um, hmm. To be honest, I think for me, from my experience, I remember just every couple of years I would look up specific artists to see if they were from the Philippines. And I think that the media that I consume often share different like fun facts. Saweetie is partially Filipino, or like her is Filipino, and um, like Bruno Mars. And I consume a lot of media that really seeks out um, making lists of those types of um, fun facts about people. And so I'm not really sure exactly what to say, but from my personal journey, I would just keep those artists on my radar. So my algorithm looks different than others. And yeah, I mean, it was cool seeing that scene during the Spider Man movie because it was like the first time I ever sat in a theater and um, was like, whoa, I understand what is being said. And uh, during that little part, but yeah, to be honest, I don't really know, but that's just from my perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And I really like how Siddhartha mentioned, like, oh, we need a lot more stories. And with needing more story, it requires more creatives, more Asian creatives to be able to be brave and just, get into creating, regardless of whether it's for, for their passion, for like being passionate about it, to making it a career, to just having fun with it and just doing it on the side, whatever it may be. We just need them to be creating. It doesn't matter like what it is, as long as you're creating in whatever medium you want. I think that's really important, and I hope that those that are going to the showcases will feel inspired from seeing you three perform and killing it, and get start working at performing themselves, creating themselves. And I think it will definitely be a positive thing at the end of the day. And I really hope that uh, more and more creatives can start coming out and do their thing.
Yeah, sorry, this was something that you just sparked, and that I think I definitely want to communicate is that creating for the sake of creating as well. Like, I think there still is a narrative of like your creativity is only valuable if it's making you millions of dollars, like at that point your parents will be like, oh, okay, I guess, like even then they might be like, how long will it last? But there, when we think about our cultural exports, and when people think about our culture and what they find so valuable, what is it? It's the colors, it's the clothing, it's the food, it's the language, um it's the interactions, the people, the personality traits. These are all creations. These are all things that somebody had to take time and be like, oh, let's try this. These are all, and so it's, to me, such a difficult thing. I think in any society, creativity is severely undervalued and highly concentrated in terms of how we reward it. We reward the cream of the crop, but in terms of on a broad scale, you walk to downtown, imagine no art, imagine no innovation when it comes to architecture. Like when we look back at history, what do we look at? We look at the things that are created by these civilizations. They're great works of text, poems, art, and so also just valuing the creation for the intrinsic creation and not how much money you got because of the creation. I think that's like a big issue that'll take a long time to tackle. I don't know, but I think that is also important, and that dialogue should start somewhere.
Definitely. And I really feel grateful that you're all telling me all about your experiences and what you're gonna bring to the showcase. And I want to give some time for you guys to kind of make sure we know the dates and where we could find the tickets and all that fun stuff. So, Anto, if you like, can you just start plugging all the dates? Where is it at? No, the kind of not necessarily every rundown of each show, but like what can we expect, and also like where can they get tickets?
Absolutely, yeah. So the first event is going to be co-produced with T-Base. That's actually where we all met, so it's such like a perfect way to start everything off. It's actually going to be outdoors in the garden, which is just an amazing space to be able to perform in. And that one is on May 8th, and they're going to be playing mahjong and hanging out all day, which is such an amazing way to welcome the entire community. And our performance is going to be around 5 p.m. On that day. And then the next show is going to be in Markham, the one that you're actually attending, at a place called Infinity Strings. It's actually incredible because it's a space where a lot of people have recitals. They do violin and piano, and so the sound in that space is incredible. And I was just so excited when I was in it. The stage is beautiful, and yeah. And then the third show is a place called Dawn on the Danforth, and that one is going to be May 20th. And that one is actually going to be our only event that we're going to be serving alcohol and some snacks and some food and things. So if you're wanting to while out a little bit with us and have some drinks and partying, that's going to be the day to do it. That venue is really beautiful. We were actually there with Rise Poetry. So they're going to be co-producing that one, and Randell as well as Elle are going to be hosting that one. And then our final one is going to be at the 918 Bathurst, and that is going to be on May 27th. And that one's going to start around 7:30, 8 p.m. And that one actually that space used to be a Buddhist temple. So the sound as well as the energy in the space is just going to be so healing, and it's going to be our final one in that performance space. So yeah, it's just all of the different events in the different venues. Obviously, you could expect all of us to be sharing our hearts, sharing our work, the many years that we've been creating. We want to be able to give honor to our ancestors, but also become ancestors ourselves in that way. So that's really a big part of that. And all of the shows will have similarities, but they're not going to be exactly the same, obviously, just depending on the space that it's going to be, as well as just different vibes of the spaces as well as the audiences. So to be able to find all of the information, the website is www.innergeneration, InnerGeneraration.com, InnerGeneration.com. And yeah, all of the details is there. We got our bios up there, everything, the dates of and how you can get tickets. And that'll send you to the Eventbrite to be able to purchase the tickets. And we also are really excited because we wanted to make sure that it's accessible as possible. Obviously, a lot of the venues are not wheelchair accessible, specifically Chinatown Center. The first one is wheelchair accessible, and that one is actually a free show. So you're welcome to come out to that if you're not able to pay for the other ones as well. But we also, for all the other ones, we do have accessibility tickets. So if you are wanting to come in a little bit earlier, get set before everybody comes in, as well as on the final event at 918 Bathurst, we are hoping to be able to get a sign language interpreter to be able to come out as well. So we're going to do our best. All of them, we will have programs as well to give to our audience so that they can keep up with some of the poems as well as some of the lyrics as well. So we want to make it at least to the level that we can accessible for those who may need that.
Perfect. And please, if those are in the area, get your tickets, attend the show. I'll be one of those attending, and I'm looking forward to it. And I want to just highlight as well, like this showcase that you guys are putting on, you're getting the support from the Canada Council for the Arts as well, and that's huge. I mean, it's great that they're supporting the arts, and especially for this program that is so much on like the Asian experience, being an immigrant in Canada, especially during Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I think that's awesome. Great kind of vibe, energy for sure. And it's been such a great conversation learning more about y'all's story and the showcase coming up. And before we go, can I just have y'all just, not only plug, the showcase, of course, that Anto already did. But for those who want to find you, more of your work and stuff before they attend the show, where could they find you?
Yes. Yes, go first.
All right. Um, what's up? Again, my name is Siddartha. I'm a rapper, producer, and dancer. You can find me at Siddartha Music. So on Instagram and TikTok at Siddartha Music, Siddartha. And of course, you can find me on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music at Siddartha, which is Siddartha. Feel free to hit me up. Feel free to send me a DM. Feel free to connect, especially if you like the music. That'd be awesome.
Hey, again, so I am the one called Shqdel, and that is Shqdel on YouTube and Spotify. And my Instagram is really complicated and long, so just go to InnerGeneration's Instagram and find me there. INNER.GENERATION. And yeah, hope to talk to somebody soon.
I love it. And my Instagram is Anto Punfu, ANTOPUNFU. I always love saying that. And definitely check out our Instagram, InnerGeneration, and being able to actually contact us too. We are hoping to do a bit of a contest at some point too. So keep up with us, and we're going to post some more videos. I do want to give a special shout out to some of the other contributing artists that have been giving so much to us. So a big shout out to Ruth, who has actually been helping us with our website, as well as our programs and anything that's like design. A special shout out to also to Sova, who's actually my editor on this project. And then we also had Shavar, who's going to be putting together the film. So we're actually going to be recording all of these as well as our interviews and things and putting together a film that's going to be released in July. And a couple other people are Annie, really appreciate it. We also have just so many other people that are on the project. Gabby is on. We have Paul. So just it's just been an entire community that's really uplifted us and built this together. And I just wanted to give like a huge thank you to them. We wouldn't have been able to get to this point without them. So just the community has really uplifted us and to be able to build this project together.
Perfect. Again, please support. I think this is really important, and it's gonna be a fun time. So might as well support something that's fun. And on this note, Anto, Shqdel, and Siddartha, thank you for your time, and really appreciate you and all that you do. All the best in all that you'll be doing in the future. And before we go, Anto, do you want to give us one pun before we go? Like I said, because you're the pun food master.
All right. Why don't we all try? Why don't you give us a word or a topic, and then we'll all try to make one on the spot. I know that everybody had. That's why I also chose these two artists too, is because I know their talents in puns and in their. And you don't have to say it as a joke, but you can make a pun of it. So, Kyle, why don't you give us a word, and we'll drop a pun for you.
Avocado.
We are avocadoing
Okay.
for Asian empowerment. Avocading.
Yeah.
Avocado my mom and dad after they watch the show because they'll be left in tears.
Oh, that's so sweet. I actually tried to eat one before they were ripe. It was an avocado.
Oh,
Perfect. Love it. Awesome. And I assume if we go to the shows, we can expect
yeah.
more puns as well. And
There's
it'll be a great
always
time.
puns. Yes.
And thank you so much for coming on the show. And best of luck on the showcase. And looking forward to seeing y'all kill it at the show that I'm attending. And on that note, thank you for listening to this episode of What Kind of Asian Are You podcast. My name is Kyle. Until the next time, bye bye.
Thanks, Kyle.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and share the podcast on your social media and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us by just searching What Kind of Asian Are You podcast on Google and at What Kind of Asian Pod on Instagram. For the YouTube listeners, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and ring the notification bell. Last but not least, buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/whatkindofasian. Thank you again, and make sure to tune in next time for another awesome episode.